Good morning. My name is Alexios. I'm Raptor Freak, and this is a reaction to the Indiana Pacers defeating the Raptors last night in the third game they played against each other. The last game of the road trip, this 2-week road trip, we failed at becoming 500 by the end of the road trip. We're not 500 right now. Our record is 9-11. It sucks, and it's just too bad. There were a couple happened last night that were really bad, and the big culprit really is that we don't have depth at the center. We don't have depth down low. And this was a problem last year, and it's still a problem this year. That without Kem Birch or Precious in the lineup, when we miss one of those two guys, we are paper thin up front. That means that half the time we're going to have to run with somebody that isn't like a true center doing stuff down low. And it really hurt us last night. Like it killed us last night. Those two bigs on the other team had their best game against us. They both got double doubles. They were both hitting threes on us. They were operating in the way that they wanted to. Like Sabonis didn't do jack shit against us in the first two games. And last night he was a man. He was the man. And we were hitting the crap out of him. We busted him in the face. We scratched his arms all up. And he still killed us. He killed us. And him and Turner hitting those threes were huge. Like we didn't even not need these guys hitting threes on us. We need them boarding like they were. This is the thing. We let them get 17 offensive rebounds. There were so many possessions where we played really, really good defense, and we messed up their shot, and then only to get them an offensive rebound and a putback. That happened way too much last night, and that's a huge problem. That's about boxing out, and that's about making sure we get rebounds, and we lost the rebounding battle last night. We lost a lot of battles last night, whether it was who shot better, who played with more energy, and who wanted it more. Indiana really wanted this game last night, and we had a couple chances in the second to really kind of like surge up and try and push to get the lead and win the game. And there were we got as close as 6 points at some point, but it just didn't happen. They kept us down. They pushed us down, and we couldn't execute. We couldn't execute late. We had open shots. People were getting open shots. They just weren't hitting them. And then we weren't able to limit them to just one shot per possession. They got like 2 or 3 shots of possession, and we can't have that. They're going to get that one of those shots to go in. So we gotta box out and only let teams get 1 shot per possession. Our defense has to be that kind of defense, and it wasn't there last night. And I do blame a lot of it Kem Birch not playing. And OG would have helped a lot in this game last night because he would do a lot of that stuff too. So the way we started the game last night was glorious. We did exactly what I was hoping. We didn't let them get off to a crazy run and take off on us. I mean, it happened eventually, but we really played really well at the beginning of the game. Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam were operating. And the way that they were scoring and the way that they were just taking over, I thought this was going to be an easy win because we were controlling the game. We were controlling the game throughout, and by the end of the first period, we looked like the team that was going to win this game for sure, because we were doing what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. Pascal was picking them apart, and Fred was just working really well with passes, and he was hitting big shots too. So we looked really good then. And Gary had a hard time getting going, and then he got hurt, guys. Gary hurt his calf last night, and he's on the injury report now. He's day-to-day now. This is not what we need. We don't need more of this, especially for somebody who's been so steady and integral to our offensive output recently. That, Gary being out for any kind of time is going to hurt, and he did. He hurt his calf, and it's going to be challenging without him on our offense. It's going to be tough to get points without him out there. We're going to have to figure out somebody else to step up. Scotty did show a couple more offensive weapons last night and different things that he did. He backed them down at one point and he bowled his way to the front of the rim and made a shot. He was doing a lot of different things really well. I thought Pascal played great for the most part. But once again, late in the game, nobody stepped up to be a superstar and really carry us over that push to get the lead when we could have gotten it, honestly. That team's a little bit soft, the Pacers. And that if we had really had our full strength team last night, I think we would have overtaken them in the second half and won the game. but we just didn't have enough. And they were able to get key baskets to hold off our runs to try and catch up with them. I did not like the way that Nick Nurse rotated the game last night. It seemed like he kept his starters in too long at the beginning of the game and also after the half. And he was too late to bring in guys like Boucher and Ban. And Mahalik is not playing well to me right now. He's really bugging me because every single shot that him and Malachi gets that's open, any bench guy right now, any shot that they get that's open, they need to drain it. They need to make it. And Mahalik is not hitting his shot consistently right now. And it's really bugging me because that's what he's supposed to do. That should be money in the bank. Count it for sure. And these are shots he should make. I don't understand what's wrong with him. So he's going through a little bit of a funk. We need him to get out of it because we really need his scoring. In the first two games against Indiana, he was one of our best scorers. He was one of the guys who helped carry us to victories in those games. And he didn't show up last night. And we really needed him because our bench is nothing really right now other than Chris Boucher, Delano Banton, and him and Malachi Flynn a little bit. And they're not producing when they're getting out there in time. Chris played a lot better last night. He did. He did a couple of things that were really good. He hit a three. He had some putbacks. He rebounded a bit, but he didn't get to play a whole lot. And he was exposed once again by these bigger Indiana centers. And he can't do a whole lot against some ways. So Precious became so important last night that he was kind of overplayed and he wasn't as effective as he could have been. He almost got a triple-double last night, like we've been talking about, but he didn't. And it is only one of him. And there's two of those guys, and then they have other guys that are coming in like Martin and different people that are just tearing it up, then we're in trouble. So we really need GM Bobby Webster and Masai Ujiri to really think about getting us another big guy. I don't care if it's somebody coming up. Like Reggie Perry would be fine if we could get him from 905 to come up to the main roster. We just need one more big man. If one of these guys is hurt, just like with point guards, this is how we used to always do it. If one of the point guards would get hurt, you bring another point guard in and you have another one there. We need to fill in the depth chart. And the depth chart filling in at center isn't Pascal becomes the third center. Isn't Scotty Barnes becomes the third center. It's getting a third center, guys. We just need to go do that, Bobby Webster. Somehow, some way, you need to just make it happen. And it could be one of these spots of these guys that are already on the team. But this is just an essential thing we need to survive in this new physical NBA. This year is physical. And guys are getting hurt, and there's a lot of – you need meat and toughness and size down low to deal with this new physical NBA. I think that part of the reason why we've been getting away with not playing with this is because the league has been softer in the last 10 years. But it's going back to being a hard league, the hard knocks league. And with that, you need Oakley. You need Willis. You need Antonio Davis. You need those kind of players that can knock people around and hold their own. And we don't have enough of that on this team right now. We have a lot of finesse, and we have a lot of outside, and we have a lot of length, and we have a lot of quickness, but we don't have enough strength. I really want us to see and make some sort of a roster change because this isn't going to get easier or better until we do that. And I really believe that we need to have a third center. We can't just have Kem and Precious. We need one more guy because that's a void. There's a void that was not filled last night, and that was the center off the bench last night. There was no center off the bench. We had Precious to start, and that was fine. He did well in different ways. They were really bugging Sabonis again last night. But it wasn't enough. He got away and he got free, and he was able to get easy shots near the basket last night. I hated all that. And, Nick Nurse is saying after the game, it was really effort and stuff like, yeah, that's part of it. But if you don't have the right personnel to put in there for success, then you can't expect your guys to rise to the occasion because they're working extra hard because they're working against that size and strength when they should be really like focusing on the tools and the things that need to do, where we should have a muscle guy out there dealing with them. All right, let's read what you guys are saying this morning. Thanks for listening to my 10-minute spiel about the game last night. Of course, there's finer things we can talk about the game, about what went wrong, and maybe we can talk about some of the bright spots and some of the good things that we saw in the game also, because it's not always all dark or all light. There are problems and there are good things always in every game. Let's see. There is only a 1 or 2 game difference. Raptors, Celtics, Sixers, and Knicks. That's the thing. We may be at the bottom of our division right now. It may look bad on paper just because we're at the bottom and it says it right there. But you know what? We beat Boston tomorrow. We leapfrog them. Basically, yeah. Because we give them a loss and we get a win and we go above them. It's that fun and that easy. That's something you dangle in front of the team tomorrow before the game. You say, look, we beat them. We go ahead of them in the standings. It's that easy and simple. So I really think that's a good motivation for tomorrow against Boston. And honestly, Boston's in a little bit of trouble right now. I think they came back and beat San Antonio last night, but they were losing to them for a good part of the game. Robert Williams III is hurt. He did not play last night. And there's another player that's out for them right. Josh Richardson is hurt right now. So, hopefully we get them in a way tomorrow where we can really beat them and feel good about it. Because it does feel good when we beat the Celtics, and they're ripe for the picking. But we'll talk about that more tomorrow. I'm just glad the team's back in Toronto today, and that they're getting a really good homestand coming up right now. Like 10 of their 11 next games are at home. So it's really going to be a good time for us to even out a record and get above 500, because we didn't accomplish staying above 500 on this road trip, but we're not that far off. 9-11 isn't totally horrible. We've got 9 wins accumulated and earned. So that's something. Every win is an earned win now, as we count them down. So let's keep going. G says, OG, Birch, and Yuta was a huge hit on our defense. A long road trip, too. Yeah, that's the thing. They're coming off this road trip. They're worn down. They're beaten up. We're missing guys. I really was hoping Yuta would just continue to keep playing for us. But part of the reason why they held Yuta out is because they are doing load management. It wasn't a setback. It wasn't something where he re-hurt himself against Memphis. It was more that they're taking precaution and not putting him back full tilt. So it was kind of like a rest day, like somebody would take a rest day on a back-to-back for one of the games, even though they weren't back-to-back. They're still doing that. So Yuta's fine. Hopefully he'll play tomorrow and it won't be an issue at all. And they were really saying that OG might play last night, but I don't understand why they didn't let him play or why he didn't play last night. It would have been really helpful in this game last night, but we should expect him back very soon too. The Birch thing is troubling though, because it's his knee and it keeps flaring up. And it's something that just continues to happen from time to time. It really bugs me because Birch is a big part of when we win. Like if we look at our record with Birch available and when Birch is not available, that will tell you a lot of why we lose and win is Birch. It really is Birch. And that just tells me more that we need more of that position. And that's what we're lacking in games like last night. So let's keep going. I'm a fun guy. We're always having fun here, even when we lose. We're going to try and have fun. Let's see. Are you on the trade Siakam train yet? It's kind of obvious to me now. We do need a center for sure. I'm not on that train because honestly, I thought he played solid last night. I mean, there's a couple of things that happened last night that weren't really his fault, but they were kind of like, it was more like team synergy and just keeping up with them on defense. And then the stuff about not boxing out and letting them get so many rebounds. Like they were shooting threes and they were hitting the front of the rim. And that was like kind of bricking it to long. And that was easier for them to rebound off of that then. But it was just totally unacceptable how many second chance shots that Indiana was getting last night. That should never be happening. We played such good defense on them for the possession, and then they miss the shot, and we don't secure the rebound. This is what I was saying like a week or so ago, that I cheer for defensive rebounds because that means that the possession for the other team has been ended. And we weren't doing enough of those defensive rebounds to end their possessions. And they were getting extra shots, and that's how they beat us. That is purely how they beat us last night, was beating us on the glass, on the offensive boards, and everything else was pretty even. The turnovers were even, the points off turnovers. Their points in the paint were way higher because of the second chance opportunities. And, the three-point shooting wasn't that much different, although we did tip off at the end and not shoot very well. We came out hot from 3-point. We were killing it on 3-point, and then the 3-point shot just kind of disappeared by the end. We were getting open shots, and we weren't hitting them. So you don't box out and you don't hit your open shots, you're going to lose the game. And that's what happened last night. But I really thought, like, near the end, that they were going to make a surge and come up and win the game at the end, because they could have. We were the more talented team in some ways. We were the more controlling of the game in the beginning. Like, seriously, it looked like we were just toying with them at the beginning of the game. And I don't know, Rick Carlisle is just a brilliant coach. He made some adjustments and he took that all away from us. That Pascal and Fred were operating at the very start of the game, and they just took it away from us. I don't really blame Pascal for this, man. And I'm not on this trade train still. I'm not going to be there with you yet, because I don't think it's like I've said this week, it's not smart, because he's going through the fire. He's being tempered in a flame to become stronger and harder and hardened, like steel would be. And he's going to be better for all this. Like, this really was a learning game last night, once again, and something that's good for guys like Scotty and Delano to be a part of and learn this kind of stuff. And this is the other thing. Think about this. Let's have perspective. We played this team 3 times this year. We're beating them 2-1. And that means that's good, because we're still ahead of them. We would like to be undefeated against them, but they had a lot of gumption to try and get to prove that they could beat us. They remembered the 2 losses against us, how we beat them, and they wanted to fix that for themselves. And we didn't do a good enough job stopping them from fixing that. So we don't play them again until March. And when we do, we play them in Toronto here, and we get to see if we can get 3 out of the 4. And that's a great opportunity still. So let's keep it all in perspective. This may be the only loss we have to Indiana this year, and they earned it. They really did. They outworked us, and they caught us at a time with certain injuries that really they could key on with their roster. Khem Birch being out against Indiana is not good. That's pure fact. You can look at that and say this is not going to be good for the Raptors in some ways, just because of Sabonis and Turner. And we were really doing well with our pace. We were making them run, and that was where we were doing our best, was when it was high tempo and they looked tired and they were having a hard time up. So they did a really good job of slowing the game down at the end and making it so that they could ease into a victory at the end of the game by slowing us down, because our energy wasn't there. Also, we got tired. And that's what I was saying. The rotations were wrong, because Nick Nurse left the starters out there too long in the beginning of the game and after the half for them to be gassed at the end of the game once again and not be able to do it. So we had 2 of our problems: no size and overplaying our guys earlier in the game, so that there's no energy in the fourth quarter to try and seal the win. So that's 2 things that are going to hurt us. Personally, I'm not judging Siakam until we have the center fixed. He rebounded 12 and has been rebounding a lot as a result, which is affecting his transitions. Yeah, he did get a lot of rebounds last night. He was 17 and 12 with 3 offensive rebounds, 4 assists, and a block. And, these are good numbers for a solid guy. I mean, he's still not totally back. We got to keep saying that. And he's just got to have more time to integrate with Scotty and different things like that. And he talked about it in the interview after the game. He's saying there's no problem with him and Scotty. He's fun to play with. He's easy to play with. And you can see them making plays between each other and playing off of each other. It's just they're still learning each other. There's so much to learn, so many things to figure out between all our players right now still. And that's why it doesn't look good all the time. I mean, but we got to give credit to Pascal. He was one of the few guys in there battling and trying to get these rebounds. It's just our rebound totals were not good last night. They really weren't. He started playing really well until the center was exposed. Won't judge the players until they fix the center spot, putting players out of position. I agree with that. And I mean, we got to judge it as they give it to us, though. And maybe that is what we say. We keep saying the fix is getting another center. The fix is having somebody as a center out there most of the time when we're dealing with big size like that. Because basically Indiana plays with 2 centers in some ways. And then they always can have one of them out on the court at all times. So, yeah, it's just really tough. All right, I'm a fun guy. I understand, but come on, man. We started at Chua to start the season, and we're 6-3. Center is only partly the problem. The addition of Siakam has been a major problem. I think that it's easy to think that that's what it is just because of the timing of everything, but it's not as simple as that. I mean, he came back also the same time around when Khem got hurt the first time. And then also, he's hurt again now. And I'm really saying it has more to do with Birch than it has to do with like Siakam himself. Birch may be the most important player on our team right now, just for the fact of what we saw last night. And every time Birch is not playing, we're at a disadvantage that we don't have any like a good defensive rebounding and defense down near the basket against centers. And until our team leaders and people who are running the team figure this out and fix this, this is going to be a chronic problem that we're going to have to deal with over and over again. This is not a small ball league. This is not a league where you can get away without playing a center. You have to play centers in this league this year. This is the one thing I've learned the most out of this physical new NBA this year with the new rules is you have to play a center. You can't get away with trying to play talent and smaller this year. You can't do that. The big guys are going to eat you up and you're going to get out physical. And that's a huge part of this right now. We can't just point at Pascal. We could point at OG for different things. We could point at Fred for different things. We could point at Scotty. It's just that we point at Pascal first, obviously, because he's the max money guy, and we expect so much out of him. But I think that he is rounding or coming around. If he was playing worse, like if he wasn't getting double-digit games and it didn't look like he was trying and stuff like that, I'd get on him like you are getting on him. I'm a fun guy. But I don't see him dogging it. I see him working hard, and I see him just trying to come back from an injury. And that's the thing we got to keep remembering. This is like, 12 games back from an injury, 10 games back from an injury? He's only been back half the season that we've played so far. So it's a time thing. And it may look more awkward with him and some of the new players just because he didn't get to play a lot of that time in training camp with them and all. He doesn't have as much time accrued with them, with Scotty and Precious and stuff like that. So I like what G's saying, that we need to wait and see still. And that, we're going to have bad games every other game, or maybe every few games we'll have a bad game like this. And people are going to say this over and over again about Siakam. And we just have to weather that storm and understand and have perspective and patience that, Siakam's going to work it out, and he's going to look better with the spacing and the rest of the guys on the floor the more they learn each other. And so there's been some really beautiful plays. Like some of the passing last night in the beginning of the game was really beautiful and amazing. Some really easy shots, getting them, and they were hitting them. Pascal hit the open three early in the game. They were passing, and Shua got a nice lay-in. There's a lot of good things and good synergy that's getting built. It's just that when Rick Carlisle riled up his guys and said, look, you guys can dominate them down low, and they woke them up. They woke up the Giants, and then they just started dominating us down low. Dominated us down low, and we couldn't do nothing. We smacked him in the face. We hit him, and he still was like, I'm mad now, and I'm just going to take it to you now. That's what he was saying. So let's keep going. Almost every game we lost, we had a center missing too. I really see that. Either Precious would be out or Ken would be out. And that's not enough, because that means we only have one center after that. And then we have no depth in that position. That's what I'm saying. If we're going to have 3 or 4 point guards in our system coming up like that, you need to treat the center position the same way as your point guard. You have to have projects for your centers coming up just like you do for your point guards, Raptors organization. This is just a part of it. And you can get different kinds of skilled guys at different levels and stuff like that. It'd be glorious if we could get Moses Brown right now for Goran Dragic. It would help a lot of these issues. It would be exactly kind of what we need, is a young guy that's a project that can be coming up after Precious and Kem and showing that, he could be part of the future also. So that's why even I'll take Reggie Perry, because I'm honestly, and this is the thing, 905's playing today at 1:00, y'all. If you're mad about the game last night and you want to wipe the taste out of your mouth, feel a little bit better about things, tune in at 1:00 on the Raptors 905 G League website. It streams for free. You don't have to do anything funny. You can just watch the game. And at 1 p.m., they're playing in Delaware. And you might feel better because you see them play and stuff like that. And watch Perry for real. Watch him and see what I'm saying. Because he can shoot the three, and he does have muscle down around the basket that he can throw around. Like I said, to me, he looks like a young Oakley in some ways. Not that he'll ever get to that level or anything like that, but I'm just saying some of the way he carries his body and sometimes his facial expression even looks like Oakley to me. It's pretty cool. But I would love to see him get called up at some point, just for that pure reason of the depth at our center. just to have him out there, even if he's just 6 fouls. And every time he's out there, he just hits the big guy who's trying to get the basket, nothing easy for them. So that's what we need this. We all see it. The fans all see it. I don't understand how our management doesn't see it, or how they're not doing something to fix it. I mean, I see teams like the Lakers, and all of a sudden, they're switching. It's Lakers in Philadelphia and the Nets are all switching around these centers every which way. Drummond and Dwight Howard and all these guys. It's like they can get these luxuries and this dearth of lots of centers on their teams. Why can't we do that? Why can't we have like maybe one more guy on our team? Because last year we were undersized the whole year. I hated it. We had centers and they were garbage. And then we got some good centers halfway through the season. And I was like, yes. And that's why I loved Freddie Gillespie so much. That's why Kim Birch is so important to us, because he's the thing we've needed for 2 years now. And he's the only one that's being like that, other than Precious. Precious is showing a little bit of it. He's gotten a lot better since the opening night. Precious on defense, team defense, and rebounding and different things he's doing. Precious got a whole lot better, and I have confidence in him now. But at the beginning of the year, the only guy I had confidence in for doing that role was Kem Birch, and that's why I was like, man, we need him. He's like maybe the most essential Raptor. He really is. I see this. Okay, let's keep going. Andrew, what an awful game. Yeah, in some ways it was. I mean, the beginning was really nice. I had a good feeling about the game last night. I was like, we should beat them. We need to beat this team. We're controlling the game. We're getting what we want. We're able to do what we want on offense, and we're doing great. But Rick Carlisle's a great coach, and he made some adjustments. He switched some things. He told his players certain things, and they executed, and they wanted it. They wanted it bad. And we were tired. We were on the end of a road trip, all worn down, beaten up, different injuries, and they capitalized on weakness. Honestly, if they had not won the game last night, they were going to be in trouble. Like, they wouldn't have to say, like, we can't even beat the Raptors, who are all injured and tired from being on a road trip, and we're at home, and we still can't beat them. They would have a lot of looking in the mirror themselves. So this was kind of a must win for Indiana in some ways, and they did it. They executed it, but we kind of let them have an easier way to do it. And I think it's really more personnel, like we've been saying. I think that if we had another center last night, it would have helped a lot. And Chris Boucher is not another center. He just isn't. We just seen him get muscled, and he played good last night. I'm not bashing Boucher. I'm just saying that he's not really a center, and we should not be counting him in that pile of people that are centers for us. He's not a center, and I don't think Pascal or Scotty is either. So they shouldn't be counting them either. So let's keep going. I'm a fun guy. Okay, that's fair. I can't counter your opinion, bro. I don't think there's a real right or wrong. Too many factors, but Siakam seems most common to him. That's the way to look at it, fun guy. I mean, you may be right. I'm not going to say that I'm absolutely right or you're absolutely right, but it may be that this is something that we get to that crossroads at some point where we realize that, it's just like with Casey. It's just like with DeMar. We get to a certain point with a player where we feel like this is not going to get to this point. But the thing is with Pascal is I don't really feel like he's been tested completely to the level that we need to see him get tested. Let's let him get to the playoffs this year and have his fire chances and test him then and see if he succeeds, if he's a winner in those kind of situations. Then I might get on board with you more fully. If he shows that he wilts in the spotlight, he wilts in the high pressure situations and the times when we really need him and when he's supposed to be that guy. If he doesn't do it then I'll join you with your opinion for sure. But I'm going to wait till the offseason. I'm going to wait until we see what happens with this team in the playoffs and see how he is as a leader trying to carry this team towards victories in the playoffs. Because that's really the practice. It's just the practice time. He's trying different things. And we're going to win and lose. We're going to have different outcomes. And, we can't saddle Pascal with all of the responsibility for that. It's collective. But in some ways, if we get to somewhere deep in the playoffs or we're doing something in the playoffs and we need him to be something and he's not that, then yeah, we'll totally get with you. Because there is no clear-cut opinion here. And once again, this is easy and they're frivolous about it. It was trade him just said. There's a lot of factors involved in this. You don't trade somebody like DeMar lightly. You don't trade someone like Siakam lightly because you could trade him to another team and then all of a sudden all of the things that he'd been working so hard on getting to here, he shows them more on another team in some ways. So we don't want to give up on him too soon. And we do want to test him as the number one guy, the main guy in the playoffs, like in those kinds of situations. I know you might say, well, it was the bubble when we played against Boston. That was the test and stuff like that. Well, Pascal screwed up and he didn't have his conditioning before that. And, we barely lost to Boston in that game series. And it might have been different if he had worked out over the pandemic. But woulda, coulda, shoulda, it is what it is. I give him a mulligan just because that whole situation was so special and weird, the whole world in general, just because of the pandemic. And, that's not totally like, who planned for that to happen and for that to all happen that way? It's like it threw him for a loop. And it could have been very kind of weird for him because he wasn't like other players where he stayed in the States with his family. Like Fred went to Rockford and Kyle went to Philadelphia. Pascal came back here like Chris Boucher, and they sat in their condos here by themselves in Toronto. And it's not like Pascal has a whole lot of family. He has his brothers here and stuff like that. And he just, he didn't have as many people around, and it was a different kind of pandemic for him. So I don't know. I'll make excuses for him till I'm blue, just because I really like him and I want him to succeed for us. And like I said, fun guy, that's where I'll be with him at the end of the year. If we don't see the kind of success I want to see from him by the end of the year, then I'll be like, yeah, let's think about maybe making a trade somehow, some way next summer. But not right now. We got to give him a chance and just let him go through the development with the rest of the guys. Let's keep going. That's why Cavs beat us. 2 centers out at once, and they overpowered us. Yes, and that was such a disappointing loss. We were winning the whole game, and they came back and beat us in the last 3 seconds of the game. That's insane. By 1 point. And it was awful. But yeah, I think that's true. That we could have used another big guy against Allen and Mobley. And that was a really hard game for us to try and win, being undersized against that, So, all right, let's keep going. Alistair, we have to more and more just get the same result as the other team. Did you see how many key rebounds they had? It was a mess, and that's not our fault. Messiah will take action. Yeah, they were in some ways bouncing directly to them. The ball was bouncing in the middle, and our guys weren't getting to it as quickly as the other guys on the other team. And that was a big factor too, is that that's where we could have used Yuta, is that he's that hustle guy that will get to those loose ball rebounds that are kind of 50-50 balls where either team could go get them. And we just weren't the energy team trying to go get them. And that's really important when we're having trouble getting the box out and keeping them off their offensive glass. Is getting to those loose balls when they come off especially those long ones. I was saying, they're taking threes and they're bouncing off the front of the rim and they're going back to the 3-point line and they're just getting another shot. And it was just a mess. And I really hope that Masai does take this seriously and they really look at this and they start talking about doing something to fix this, because the way that this team is the way this team's constructed right now is not good enough for the center position. And I felt like this for 2 years now with when Mark and Serge left. That was a huge blow. And I'm going to tell you the truth. Even when we had Mark and Serge, I didn't feel like we had enough centers then. Like they were only running with Mark and Serge. They were our only centers. And I don't like that. That was still only 2 centers. Because if Mark got hurt, which was often, we didn't have anybody but Serge. And then Serge became so this has been a problem for a couple of years now. And I don't know if this is just a signature of Bobby Webster's GM style or Masai Ujiri's direction at the top, but you guys need to get more centers. And I'm saying this through my teeth because I'm very frustrated about this. Pascal couldn't go to the States due to passport issues. Well, that's probably better that he was here during the pandemic than down there. I mean, he had more of a support system here than being anywhere down there, I'm sure. And it was probably just better that he was here anyway. The thing I don't like is, why didn't the Raptors organization go to him and say, here, we're bringing you weights, we're bringing you all this stuff for your apartment, and we want you to keep working. Like, the Raptors should have been keeping tabs on their dudes at home. Like, I saw Instagrams of Terrence Davis lifting weights on his balcony at his apartment. I saw Serge out during the whole pandemic, like filming it and putting it up on TikTok and Instagram. So why wouldn't they do that for Pascal? Why wouldn't they say, Pascal, you should be doing things at home while you're waiting to work out and stay strong? And they didn't come and check on him. So in some ways, that's their fault. These are invested guys. You have millions of dollars invested in these guys. That still just seems smart. Why wouldn't you check on them and make sure they're doing okay and what they should be doing? I don't understand that. Okay, Lakers, Miami, some other teams practicing outside during COVID. What an unfair year for some teams. That I heard that at some point, and I'm glad you just brought that up, G. Yeah, they probably were doing some illegal shit. Like that whole COVID bubble was really for LeBron to try and get another championship in a cheap, easy way in some ways. Like they wanted the Lakers to win that from the beginning. And that was the whole reason why LeBron was making such a stink about making the bubble happen. Like it was a little bit orchestrated and it was kind of a sham in some different ways. Like they could have easily just said this season's over and not put everybody at risk. But they decided to do that. And in some ways it was good, and I'm glad they did it. But in some ways also it really was a sham. That what you're saying is true, that the Lakers continue to work out and that they were a little more sharper in the bubble because of those kind of reasons. And Miami was the other team that got into the finals too that year, right? So it's this. If they were doing that, then we showed that there was definitely an advantage. Meanwhile, we have one of our guys isolating and like he's not doing anything and he's withering away. He's losing all of his muscle and he's just sitting at home, like playing video games or doing. I don't know what Pascal was doing. I don't know. Let's keep going. Move Romaro up to the main roster. Romaro is, I'm telling you, all right, if you watch the game at 1 today, you'll see what I'm talking about, Alistair. The dude is way too slow. He's got size, sure, and he can like throw things around, but he doesn't get up and down the court very fast at all. He would really slow us down and not really fit with our system. I like Reggie Perry more because he's more mobile and he's about the right size and height, and he can hit a three really well. Gil has not looked good offensively either. Like when I watch him play for 905, he doesn't score or do a whole lot or like anything. He can bother shots. He can be a wall. He can be a real problem for people to try and shoot around. And he gets some rebounds, but he doesn't really have any offensive game. And he's lumbering. He does not get up and down the court that fast. That's what I've seen of him in the few games that I've seen on 905. I don't think he's a viable option. That Reggie Perry would be the one guy other than Bonga and Johnson and the guys that are already involved in the team that I would bring up. Because you look at, he was the one in training camp that was the closest to making the cuts also. That and the thing is, I didn't know he could shoot the three. That's the thing. Reggie Perry can shoot the three and he can bang and do down low defensive rebounding and things like that. So that he's more the guy, I think, in our organization that's next man up from the 905 in that center position. But I really like to just get somebody who's a little more. It would be so great if we could just trade Goran and just get somebody for him. Even the Indiana announcers last night were talking about Goran at some point. They're like, well, Goran's just sitting on the bench. He's not doing anything. And they're like, well, they're just waiting to trade him, is what Quinn Buckner said. And I was hilarious. It was hilarious to me. They're a good announce team. The Indiana announce team is very fair. And they had a lot of respect for our team. And honestly, for the first part of the game, they were scared that they were just going to lose because Indiana is in that kind of like, we really spoiled a good opportunity. Because they're in this kind of unconfident mode right now. They're not totally confident in themselves, Indiana. And last night we gave them more confidence, letting them win the way they did last night because they were not a confident team. I mean, the Lakers had just beaten them, and they have been having trouble winning games lately. And we just gave them more confidence in that way, and that sucks. I hate that. Okay, Andrew, Drake should build Pascal a basketball court. Pascal's home. Well, I mean, I think Pascal's home was like on the 20th floor of like one of these condos down near the Air Cancer. So if we could build an air court or something like, or maybe a court on the roof, why didn't Drake just say, Pascal, come stay at my house during this pandemic? Drake, you're such a great ambassador. Why couldn't you let him come live the Drake life with you in isolation in that house with you guys? I mean, you love the team that much, right? And you're cool with all these guys. I know you might have done that for maybe like DeMar or Kyle or Fred, but why wouldn't you do that for Pascal, man? Drake, if there's any more of these weird things, God forbid any kind of lockdowns or pandemics or anything happen. I hear there's a new strain, some bullshit coming from Africa that's going in the UK today, but hopefully nothing's happening that, with more pandemics. If it does, Pascal should be living at Drake's house. I nominate that. I think that Drake should be like, come over and live here with me. My court is amazing. You'll be fine. Do that, please, Drake. As global ambassador for the Raptors, help our guys out in the pandemic. Bring them to your house, please. That would be amazing. That would be awesome. Yeah, it's the funny thing because those were the two teams in the finals, and these kind of teams like the Lakers and the Celtics will game any kind of advantage they can get. Like they do illegal shit all the time, and it gets looked past, or we don't even know they're doing illegal shit in the NBA. Just looks past it. Like a lot of the stuff that the Lakers have done with their cap in the recent years, with all these big names coming in and old veterans, and the way that they go over the luxury with the tax and all that kind of stuff is kind of fishy at times. Like the way that they're able to manipulate, like the same thing with Brooklyn last year, the way that they brought in all these Hall of Fame guys and they kept signing them to these weird contracts, and how much money that is involved in all that. They're not playing with the same rules as some of the other franchises are, like some of the lower level franchises, because they can do this kind of stuff, spend a bunch of money like the Yankees would in Major League Baseball, way more than anybody else, and have all these big names and future either Hall of Famers or All-Stars on their teams and stuff like that. So it's fishy. There's always fishy stuff like that. And that's a really good point that G brought up about them working out privately leading into the bubble, and that factor with that. It's really interesting. It's 100% confirmed. Even the Clippers. Yeah, I believe it. Clippers owner bought them all a home gym too during COVID. They didn't work out for them though. Yeah, they didn't. Well, the Clippers have problems with synergy, with chemistry, with not really having a team. They have a collection of talented players, but I didn't call them a team. And I think that's Kawhi's fault. To be honest, Andrew says, I didn't like one of the Pacers announcers. He seemed kind of dumb. I think you're talking about Quinn Buckner. Quinn Buckner's an interesting announcer because he used to be on NBC. He was like a nationwide announcer when I was younger, and he was pretty good. He's an old school announcer. That's probably why he sounded dumb or something like that. Maybe it was, I don't know if it was the play-by-play guy that you said that maybe was dumb. But Quinn, I like Quinn just because he's a former, like, he played in the league and he does know his stuff. He's pretty good, but he's kind of down homey, kind of like old school. He's very old school announcer. Okay, we've been going about 40 minutes. I don't know what else to say about this. Really, the rebounds were a huge Achilles heel last night. That if we had just been able to get those defensive rebounds and stop them from getting second chance, we would have had a lot better shot at winning this game. And then we look at the paper trail and we figure out where the problems were. Kem Birch being out and us not having more depth at center is a huge part of this, because it was Sabonis and Turner and even that Martin guy who came in off the bench late. They had a lot of balanced scoring on their team. They had like guys on the bench that scored double digits, Craig, Martin, and Duarte. And then they had the regulars, the guys that you're supposed to do it. 3 of them had triple doubles. I mean, Sabonis and Turner both had triple doubles, and Brogdon got 12 assists with 11 points. So, and then we didn't even they didn't shoot well at 3. That's the other thing that really pissed me off, is we were guarding them really well. Their 3 points weren't going down. We were getting the opportunity to get the defensive rebound and have good defensive possessions, but they were getting too many chances because they weren't hitting the threes. The threes were missing, and then they were getting 2-pointers close to the basket. I hate that. I hate that so much. I really do. When the second chance points kill us. That's one of the worst ways to lose a game. And if I'm looking at our stat sheet, if we really want to talk about who was bad, I mean, the bench was awful last night. Let's just put it that way. I mean, when you look at, other than Boucher, I won't talk about Boucher, and I won't talk about Champagny and Bonga because they just came in at the last minute. Flynn, Banton, and Mahalik were just not good enough. I mean, the reason, like Mahalik, I already talked about, he was 1 for 6 from the field. That's absolutely unacceptable from him, because that's the one thing we really need from him, is him to hit his open shots. And Flynn also was 1 for 6, which is not characteristic of him. He should shoot way better than that. And the thing I didn't like about Banton's game is a little different. He only took 2 shots, but he played 17 minutes. Like, that's not enough shots for him and what he should be doing out there. He just wasn't as active as he usually is as a player on the court. and he didn't do a lot of all the different things he does. Like he did bring the ball up pretty fast. He was handling the ball pretty well at different times, but he just didn't do anything. Like where were the stats? Like he was 1 for 2 from the field. He only took 2 shots. He got 2 rebounds, 2 assists. He had 2 turnovers, and that's in 17 minutes. We've seen him do way more than that in like 8 or 10 minutes, and he got like double that time, and he didn't fill the stats up for it. So I don't like that. I don't like that from Delano. So the bench was really bad. No second chance points, things like that. Celtics at home tomorrow is an important game. We got to beat them. We need it for feeling good. We need it for just climbing back over 500. We need it for our home record and just feel, but this is a trap game. Because it always is for teams that go on road trips, long road trips like this, tiring road trips. The first game back at home is a trap game because sometimes you come back and you're just so glad to be home. It's kind of like what they say is like car accidents happen within a mile of your house, more likely, because sometimes people get home, they think they're already home and they relax already, and they don't pay attention to drive because they think they're already home. And that's why you can more likely get in a wreck near your house, because you feel more comfortable because you think you're already home. And that's something we can't do tomorrow. We can't be like, oh, we're back home and everything's fine. This because it's not really that way for us at home right now. Our home record is awful, and we need to have a good effort and come out there and jump all over them. And we can't let them do that to us. If Robert Williams isn't playing tomorrow, that'll really help us. Because then it'll be kind of like you don't have your queen and we don't have our queen on the chessboard. Because I really look at the center as being like the queen position right now. Like, because he's kind of it'll be a lot easier for us if we don't have Kem again tomorrow, if they don't have Robert Williams III. So let's see what else is going on. Alistair, we should run the offense with our 2 centers through Scotty. Last night he did. Reminded me of the way Ja Morant played against us the other night. Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. Scotty's a great point guard. He's going to be a great facilitator. He's a great passer. He's somebody that I love seeing pass around. The thing is that they just bullied us. At some point, Rick Carlisle told them and just said, "You guys can do whatever you want down low. You realize this, right?" And then the switch clicked with Sabonis, and all of a sudden he was just operating. Because before we were quick to get to him with the double team, but we didn't have the double team last night. We didn't have the kind of to stifle him. He was just basically able to bowl his way or just spin around or get around and make he's making tough shots too. And he was getting hammered. We beat the crap out of him. And a lot of it was fouls, and they weren't getting all the calls either. Like the calls were pretty shitty towards them last night. We were getting a lot of benefit of the doubt last night, which was pretty good. Svi's been off, and thing is, our bench is the real weakness. Yuta and Delano only hope. I think Chris is a bit of the hope too. And I really, really, really want them to bring Scotty off the bench, because I think that it'll just bolster our bench so much if we do that. You get all of our guys healthy. We have everybody on the roster healthy. You start the veteran 5, Fred, Gary, OG, Pascal, and Kem. And then you have Scotty with Delano, with Chris Boucher, with Svi Mihalik and Malachi Flynn and Yuta Watanabe. And those are it's your bench team that comes in with different kinds of looks and different kinds of things that they can do. And Scott's the first guy off the bench for sure. He's the 6th man. He's the guy who can come in and he subs for Fred or he subs for Kem. That's what I'm saying. And Precious comes off the bench too with Scotty. Think about that. If you Precious and Scotty in that second lineup, that bench gets a whole lot better quick. And I really want them. The management of this team right now is in question to me. It's not that I don't trust in Masai. It's just that we know that we're lacking centers. And also, I don't necessarily like how Nick Nurse likes to start a small lineup. That we always need a big pivot, somebody at least like Precious or Kem in that starting lineup at all times. That we can't get away with OG being healthy, having those guys and Pascal or center, because they're not centers and we lose because of this. And that's a big problem. Alistair, what do you think Nick Nurse, who do you think Nick Nurse will bench when OG's back? Man, I hope it's not Kem or Precious. But a lot of signs point to that just because of his philosophy and the way he's doing. But I don't understand. It's like maddening. It's like I'm yelling at the wall, like, no, don't do it. Play a center. But then OG will get help back and he'll start Fred, Gary, OG, Pascal, and Scotty. And I hate that. I don't want that. I think Scotty does a disservice to Pascal, OG, and Scotty when you do that, because it makes them all discount for everything else on the court because of what they have to do physically. And that's why you need a strong guy in the middle. And, Scotty going to the bench is not a big deal. He played off the bench for his 1 year at FSU. It's not an ego thing. It's not going to mess with his rookie of the year stats. Like, honestly, he could get the same kind of stats off the bench, the same amount of minutes off the bench. It's just that we need to establish beginning of the game a real center who's established the defensive presence and is doing the things on the defensive rebounding side that we need. And that was something we lacked last night. Oh my gosh, boy, did we ever. All right, just coming up on 50 minutes, 1 o'clock, 9:05 versus Delaware. I'll put the link in the comments so you guys can find it easy. And there's a new open gym out last night. It's amazing the turnaround, how quickly they can make that show, because it led right up to the Golden State game on Sunday, showing the whole road trip kind of stuff, and really interesting stuff with the equipment team and how they deal with road trips and stuff like that in that game, in that episode, and different stuff like this. Yeah, I think Masai's working on it too. I mean, they really got to. They may have not realized what the rule changes this year with fouling we're going to do to the game, and now they got to react to this. They really do need to react to this, because guys are getting more hurt this year because of the physicality. There's a lot more injuries, and there's still this lingering thing with COVID. These kind of COVID protocol and things are going to happen to teams from time to time, and so we just need this depth. If we have point guard depth, why can't we have center depth? That's what I'm saying. Bobby Webster and Masai Ujiri. Why can't we have center depth? We have point guard depth. Let's have center depth. Let's build it in the same kind of way. Alistair, they will expose us every time down low. It will be stressful to watch. It'll be tough, man. It'll be tough. I don't think they did take the rule changes into account. I think that a lot of people did. Anybody could understand how they were going to change things. I mean, Trae Young, James Harden, everybody's having to deal with this in a certain level. Even Fred hates the new rules. He doesn't like them. Like, he said that he thinks that the rules are really messed up and wrong. But honestly, in a lot of ways, the rules are good for the game. And I know that may sound crazy because people are getting hurt and it's just like that, but the league was getting to a soft reputation. It was getting a reputation that it was, these guys are just too easy. It was more like an all-star game more. The league regular season games were becoming more like all-star games with people not trying and just kind of like being more offensive and no physicality. And us old school, like, historic NBA fans love that real, like, old 80s style. And this is what this is like. This is like the old 80s NBA. This is the way it used to be when Bird and Barkley were battling down there and beating each other up, and Karl Malone and stuff like that. And that's why it's good in some ways, because there was a competition and a parity in the league because of that. And part of the problem with the league in the last 20 years with the finesse league is that there were really like crop above and it kind of middling and stuff like that. But now it's wide open, really. Like, if you look at the league, there's so many teams right around 500 right now. The parity is really good. And I think it is partly to do with these new rules and stuff like that. So I don't think they're bad. I think they just need to be adjusted to and gotten used to, and that we're finding all the waves and wrinkles from it now, 20 games into the season. And maybe the front office needs to adjust and figure out how to deal with it more than we think they do. All right, let's keep going. Yes, they exposed the center, and it puts way too much pressure on others physically and mentally. I really believe that. It's really hard to be a dynamic offensive scorer on the other end as Pascal Siakam when you're having to battle Nikola Jokic on the other end of the court. Like, that's not something we should have Pascal have to do. And he had to do that a lot last year, and I did it. And that's part of the reason why I thought he hurt his shoulder, is because he was playing against stronger guys, and he had more opportunities to get hurt, because they were putting him in a dangerous situation with how they were playing him. And I still think they're on the down low. Same thing for OG. OG and Pascal had to do stuff in the last year because we didn't have no center that I hated. And they're putting them at risk, not only for getting injured, but in their careers even. And I don't think that they see this. They need to really see this. Don't be short-sighted, Bobby Webster. You need to protect your good guys, and you need to get some muscle. You need to get some more guys just like this. Reggie Perry looks like this guy on the 905 level at times, like just with his mannerisms and stuff like that. I'm not saying he's Charles Oakley, but I'm just saying he could be that style of player. Yeah, gee, I like the new rules a lot too, but you need to adjust for sure. Okay, guys, thanks for watching this morning. I know it's hard to come in for these ones after a loss, but I appreciate y'all being here. And I'll continue to do this no matter what, even if I feel like shit and I don't want to talk about it. I kind of did this morning. But you know what? Let's stay positive. Let's go, Raptors! Boston Celtics tomorrow, the arch enemy. This is Superman versus Lex Luthor. This is us against them, and we want to beat the little green men. We want to stomp all over them. And hopefully Robert Williams ain't there, and we got Kim Birch, and we can do some big stuff, big time, have a big, nice welcome home with our home crowd on a Sunday. I worry about that home crowd on a Sunday because that Sunday crowd is sometimes we just want to be entertained. And if they start losing, then they're like, oh no, this guy's on this guy's. Just be good Raptor fans. If you're going to the game, get loud and keep cheering them no matter what, even if we don't have another center yet and we're getting beat down low. But I don't think Boston will do that to us, especially if Robert Williams is out. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that hopefully Robert Williams will not be there tomorrow. See. All right, guys, have a great Saturday, a great weekend in general. Like I said, 1 o'clock, watch that game. It may be a really good palate cleanser. Get that bad taste from last night out of the mouth. And you can see some of the stuff that David Johnson got sent back down, so he's there with them today. I don't think Bonga is, though. Bonga might not be playing with them, but David Johnson's going to be playing on the 905. I don't know. Maybe they sent more of them down. Champagny and Delano, maybe they're going to be there too. I don't know. But it's a good, fun game to watch. And like I said, check out Reggie Perry and see what I think. And if you see Gil, you'll see what I'm talking about as far as like it's not going to be viable to see him on the main roster. I really don't see that happening, even if he's 7'2", and it seems like he's the easy fix. He's just not fast enough for the NBA. He just really isn't. He's almost not fast enough for the 905. Just put it that way. Okay, guys, go Raptors. We're proud of our team no matter what. We're going to get there. We're going to figure it out. It's all about development and patience. We're getting there.